Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Continuing now with the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, having conspired a plan of how to get rid of Yusuf, the 10 boys approached Yaqub alayhi salam and asked him why he didn't trust them with Yusuf. Now this part of the story explains why the sons felt jealousy in the first place, and it further reinforces the idea that Yaqub was not ignoring his other sons. He was not biased in his love towards Yusuf. On the contrary, as a father, he was giving love and attention to all his boys, but it was just the fact that he would not allow Yusuf to go out with his other brothers that made the 10 boys jealous. That is what made them feel that their father was giving more attention and more care to Yusuf than them. Other than this, there is no evidence to suggest that Yaqub alayhi salam was actually giving more love to Yusuf or more love to Benjamin and not enough love to the other 10 boys. And in fact, if we all reflect for a moment, Yaqub's behavior was not irrational. It actually makes perfect sense. Given the age difference between the 10 boys and Yusuf alayhi salam, and the fact that the 10 boys already made it clear from their behavior that they did not consider Yusuf and Benjamin to be of their own, Yaqub alayhi salam naturally felt the need to protect his young child from harm. He knew that the other boys could look after themselves, given their age, and the fact that they always looked out for each other, but Yusuf, being so young, would need a guardian. He was too vulnerable. So Yaqub alayhi salam did not forbid Yusuf from talking to his brothers, from eating with them, playing with them. He simply did not want Yusuf to go far away in case something happens. This simple fact could not be understood by the other sons, and that became the root cause of jealousy. In addition, it's interesting to note that the sons don't tell the father that they want Yusuf to come out and play with them. Instead, if you study verse 12 of Surah Yusuf, they say, "Allow him to go out and play while we watch over him." This further reinforces the idea that there was a considerable age gap between Yusuf alayhi salam and his brothers. They were not small kids like Yusuf and Benjamin. They were much older, which is why they would not want to play with Yusuf. They simply wanted to watch over him. And as a response, the father tells them that he has a fear a wolf might attack Yusuf while the other boys are negligent. Eventually, the boys convince him that they are a strong group of men and they will be able to protect Yusuf alayhi salam. So the fact that this was enough to convince Yaqub to send Yusuf illustrates that he did have some level of trust towards his other 10 sons. He knew that Yusuf had not shared his dream with them, and at that moment he still trusted his sons to protect Yusuf in case there was danger. As a parent, Yaqub could sense jealousy and sibling rivalry, but he never imagined that they would want to harm Yusuf to this extent, especially since the dream had not been shared. This implies that although the boys had traits of jealousy and loved being their father's center of attention, that does not mean they were evil men. They must have had some good characteristics as well that caused Yaqub alayhi salam to trust them at that moment. And this yet again reinforces something that I mentioned previously, which is the fact that insan by nature is good. He was created good. He was born according to his fitrah, which is good. But it is the waswasas of shaitan that makes insan do things that are wrong. And when a person makes a mistake, he should not be judged by his mistake. He should be allowed to do tawbah and to correct himself, because by default, every human being is good. So what we can learn from this is that at times even good people can make huge mistakes, because they are driven by jealousy and the desire for validation. Regardless of how many good deeds we perform every day, we can never let down our guard, because as soon as we do, Satan attacks, triggers our weaknesses, and makes us do things that only result in regret. The boys were not bad and evil humans, but they had hidden weaknesses. They craved being the center of attention. They craved being praised and loved by their father, and they thought highly of themselves because of their number. Satan knew their weaknesses, and that is precisely what he triggered by whispering the idea that Yaqub's attention seems to be diverted towards his 2 younger boys. He is not giving constant praise or validation to the older boys because he's now focusing time and energy in raising the 2 younger boys. Eventually, according to their plan, when the 10 boys threw Yusuf down the well, immediately Allah sent the young helpless boy a message through ilham. Yusuf a.s. just knew at that moment that a time will definitely come in the future, guaranteed, where he will face his brothers and confront them about this day. Yet again, this shows Allah's means of consoling. He never places a burden more than a soul can bear. For a child to be left alone at the bottom of a well, betrayed by his own brothers, crying, terrified in the dark, this test would have been too much. But it was the consolation that came, which miraculously strengthened his heart so much that he just knew everything was going to be okay. And he just knew that he would be granted an opportunity to face his brothers again, questioning them about this day. He didn't know when or how, but he knew it would happen. And we all can relate because at times we face similar situations. When we are grieving, sad, feeling helpless, at times suddenly amongst those feelings of grief and sadness, we feel a burst of positivity. We don't know when or how things will get better, but we just have a feeling that everything is going to be okay. That is Allah communicating with us through ilham. That is Allah strengthening our hearts at that moment and just letting us know that it's not time to give up. Don't get overwhelmed by the whispers of Satan. Don't think that your life is over. Don't think that now nobody in the universe can possibly help you, because Allah the Almighty is still there and He will always be there. And as long as He's there, everything will eventually be okay. Assalamu alaikum.